Hey guys, welcome to the video. This is my HPI Racing Vorza S Flux Truggy, and we will be talking about the Draco upgrades I've designed for this platform. So let's begin. Okay guys, so the first upgrade I'd like to talk about is the front shock tower for the Truggy. So this is 6mm thick. It has 10 mounting holes at the top of the shock. So this is 7 extra positions over the stock tower. It has an integrated center brace mount. It has 6 mounting points for the upper arm of the suspension. Of course, the stock front bumper will attach as normal. The body mounts will attach as normal, but I have added an extra mounting position for the body mounts to clear the top of the shock towers. With the plastic prototypes, I have tried both ways. So one would be having these mounts separate, and the other would be integrating them into the shock tower. Now, I still haven't decided which one I'm going to do. I'm leaning towards having them separate, because there may be customers that don't want the center brace, so it would be an option. So when you buy the center braces, these mounts that mount to the shock will be available separately. Currently though, they are integrated, and cost of having them integrated is much more expensive because there's more machining time. Right. That's the same for both front and rear. Alright, so that is the front shock tower. The rear shock tower is pretty much the same. Of course, it has the wing mounted to it, and this is in the same stock position. There are also 10 mounting points at the top of the tower for the top of the shock, and then we have 7 positions for the upper suspension arm here. And let's see, the body mounts also have an additional position. So right now they are set in the uppermost position, and it's 4.5mm higher than the stock position, once again to clear the top of the shock towers. Right, and yes, it's also 6mm thick, and both front and rear are made of 7075 T6 aluminium with a hard coat anodizing on it as well. That's why it has this color. Right, so I haven't been able to test any of these parts yet. It's rainy season here in Japan, so I haven't had an opportunity to go out, but as you can see, my truck is ready to go, so I will be hoping to go out very soon. Okay, let's talk about the center braces. There are 2 braces, the front and the rear. The front is 55mm long. It's made of 304 stainless steel. It uses the HPI rod ends, part number 67516, and it has this mark here. This shows the direction it should be mounted. So this means looking from the rear of the vehicle, if you turn the brace clockwise, you will bring the rod ends closer together, and if you turn it counterclockwise, it'll bring them further apart. So you can use a hex screwdriver to adjust the length of this to make sure it's tight. Right, so I had a previous design where the center had a square feature where you could use a wrench to adjust, or a spanner to adjust, but on advice from my local friend here in Japan, he suggested I make it round. This would put less pressure on the part in the machine, and therefore the chance of bending would reduce. So if I had a square feature here, they would have to use a mill to cut it, and they would have to do multiple passes to get this shape to avoid putting pressure on it, and this would cost more because it would take more time. So he suggested making a round feature here instead, and then putting a hole through it. So yeah, I redesigned it. He made me some prototypes, and here we are. Yeah. Okay, so the rear one is the same. It's 155 millimeters long. It has M5 threads, both do of course, utilizing the same HPI part here, and of course it has the hole in the center. Yeah, so they can be adjusted, and make sure that this mark here is facing forward, so you will have the direction. You can remember the direction when you adjust. Right, so I'm using Cure balls in here for now, but I'm still sourcing the parts for this. I'm not sure exactly which one I will use, but when they're available, I will have that all sorted. Yeah, they screw into each shock tower, and then they go through, and you add a nut on the bottom. So there are no threads here on this mounting position. Yeah. And that's it for the braces. As you can see, they make things much stiffer, especially if you tighten it up and adjust it to how you'd like it. Okay, let's take a look at the Draco motor mount design. So there are two aspects to this. First part is the motor mount itself, and then the second part is the split design for easy access to the center diff. So let's take a look at the motor mount itself. So with the stock design, you are limited to a 40 millimeter can motor, and of course the length is limited, so this really reduces the number of motors you can use. I wanted to use a castle motor in this platform, but I couldn't because of that. So this was one of the main reasons I redesigned it. Also, some people want to do some speed runs, so I wanted to open up more pinion options. Yeah, a feature of this is you can use anywhere from 13 tooth pinion to a 22 tooth pinion to find the right gearing for you. The stock spur is 50 tooth, so you can play around with the 48 tooth or 46 tooth spur to get your right gearing. Also, on the motor mount itself, you have two mounting positions. One is for M4 screws, one is for M3 screws, using 25 millimeter distance between both, of course. And then at the rear, under the motor, we have a motor pad, 3D printed resin. This will add additional support at the rear of the motor, so if you're jumping, the motor will remain steady and not cause any damage to your gearing. This utilizes two screws from the stock motor mount, so you just use the last two positions here to access, to mount the motor pad itself. Yeah, so the rear of the motor will sit on this, making a more rigid setup. Alright, so yeah, just loosening these two screws, you can slide the motor back and forth really easily, and then when you find the ideal mesh, you can tighten these two screws. Alright, let's look at the center diff portion of the design. So in the top plate here, you can see there are two countersunk holes. So I first wanted to mount the rear upper and front upper plate to the top plate, so it was one assembly. You could remove the whole thing easily, but it proved to be difficult to get everything to line up correctly and for it to fit together nicely, so I've decided to eliminate that. So the upper plates are actually the second version. They don't have threads in them, so the new and final version of this top plate here with the logo will not have these holes, so it'll just be removed by removing these four screws. Yeah, so remove the front and rear brace, and then remove these 4 screws, and you can take the top plate off and now remove the rear and front upper plates to access the diff. So just pull up the center diff, hold the rear dog bone, and then angle the center diff like this, and you will be able to pull out the whole center diff much easier than stock, just like that. Okay, right, so that is the motor mount itself. And then one last thing, I would like to ask your opinion on something. So I do have a design for a front and a rear brace that will replace these stock ones, but I'm unsure whether it's worth continuing with this due to cost. Making all these parts at the same time would be quite a heavy financial burden for me. So if you are interested in buying these, please let me know in the comments, and I will go ahead and get some prototypes made and get these available too when the other parts are available. Basically they use the same design, but they're made of 7075 aluminium and hard anodized, so they will match the other parts. Right, and also if you are interested in having this part of the center brace mount integrated into the shocks, or whether you think it's best to have it separate, please also let me know about that. Help me decide. I'm leaning towards having it separate, just because I can sell the braces separately and customers can just have their shock towers if they wish. Alright, so that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment and put any questions in the comments, and if you haven't already, check out the Draco Center Diff Set 2024. It's available to pre-order now on my website, www.draco-jp.com/the Draco store. The link is in the description. Thank you again.